Buenos dias, good morning, bonjour, xin chao, ni hao, what's up? It's me, Mr. Jordan. Today we're going to take a look at chapter 12 of The Handmaid's Tale. Brief recap and summary of chapter 12. The narrator, Offred, is bathed by Rita and has a flashback to being in a grocery store with her young daughter and a woman trying to abduct the daughter from her. So she literally takes the child out of the grocery cart and runs away. So there's this idea that in the past in America, there was already sort of a desperation or a kind of plague of infertility happening. After her bath, she dresses and then is forced to eat a dinner that was prepared for her from the chicken, which we've seen in previous chapters. And she sort of scoops or steals a little pat of butter from the side of her plate, and she tells us she's going to save it for later. We're going to do some more in-depth stuff here and really sink her claws into the chapter. So as Offred takes her bath, she tells us that her own nakedness and nudity has now become strange to her. So we're seeing how deeply the sort of invasive mind control of Gilead is. It's starting to pervade her own thoughts. So she steps into the bath. She tells us it's steamed like a bowl of soup. This idea that she's a piece of meat being cooked. She's told that her old clothes were unhygienic or caused crotch rot. This idea that they were being shamed, body shamed about who they were and the very fact of their womanhood. Likewise, there's no privacy any longer, right? She's forced to stand here or to sit in the bathtub and let another woman bathe and touch her own body. There's no longer privacy, and modesty doesn't exist in that sense. The whole of her life is controlled and operated by the state. This bathing scene is also a really direct reference to Nazi Germany. Much like the treatment of prisoners in concentration camps, she's being told she's unhygienic and scrubbed clean, an obvious allusion to ethnic cleansing, to this idea of racial purity. For further proof, we're also explicitly told that the narrator, Offred, has a tattoo similar to the treatment of people who are in Nazi concentration camps. So there's an eye tattooed on her ankle along with 4 digits. She's been re-educated. The re-education of our narrator is complete. She's been made into a thing. She's no longer a human. She's been completely depersonalized. Her own identity is gone. Up until this point in the book, she hasn't actually told us that her name is Offred. We can just surmise as much. So right now, she's literally still nameless, except for this tattoo and the mark of the eye on her skin. And she, at the ceremony later, will have to present herself, again, as a thing, as an object in the sitting room or in the bedroom, one of many collectible items in the household. What I must present is a thing made, not born. What's happening is she's coming to see herself as a thing too, and no longer. She's losing touch with the past, with her identity that she once had in America. So like every other sense of normalcy, her flashback to grocery store shopping, Luke being at the meat counter doing man things, buying the meat, her going through the aisle with the child, so mother and child scene, and then her baby's snatched away, just like the normalcy of America in her prior life was snatched away after the revolt and takeover of Gilead by Christian fundamentalists. It's also an interesting section here, another bit of pedantic sort of chauvinism by Luke, where he told us that men need more meat, studies prove it. So this constant idea of the false claims to some sort of science or fraudulent intelligence or academia. It wasn't superstition, and he wasn't being a jerk. Studies have been done. Luke also brushes off the woman kidnapper as being crazy. So it's this idea, right? This constant subjectification of women and not respecting. What's actually happening is that the world itself is going crazy. And this woman is a symptom of the falling away of civility or of America and its freedoms. Start with some vocabulary. Immodest. This is lacking modesty or decency. Confiscated usually refers to property that's been taken or seized, often by the authority or the state. Cultivate has a really clear double meaning. So there's, in one sense, cultivate arable land. So this idea, again, of farming or of raising vegetables and produce and fruits of the land. And then the other cultivation is the cultivation of one's mind, right? What we're doing here, higher learning. This idea that you can cultivate yourself and you can develop or acquire a skill and improve yourself, become something better. Heartland, another reference here to farming, but also another obvious double meaning. So the heartland is the central or most important area of the country. It's also the center of support or belief in a movement. So the heartland here can be the most arable land, the opposite of barren land, but it can also be the center of ideology or philosophy that's sort of pushing out this new moral landscape through Gilead. A vessel has a couple different meanings. A vessel can be a ship or a boat. A vessel can also be something hollow, like a container, an empty container or vessel that you would fill up, like a woman's womb. And then finally, a vessel can also be like a blood vessel, right? So this reference to blood and the functioning of the body and the process of birth, labor, menstruation. Thanks so much for watching. That was chapter 12. Come back next time for chapter 13.